everyone, Ben Woodruff here with another Falconry video. Today's video I want to give a little bit of advice on what to do if your bird is a chronic biter, if it's always biting you. If you're not into falconry, this may seem like a rampant problem. It's usually not. It's actually very interesting. Most bird species on our planet, their feet kind of dinky. They have claws, but they're not true talons because they don't grip. Maybe they can grip for perching, but very few birds have gripping force in their feet, which means the beak is their primary tool to eat, to kill, to hunt, to break open seeds, to manipulate the world around them. It is their hands. I mean, now, there's exceptions, right, like parrots, and there's some other birds that can use their feet kind of like a hand as well. But for most birds, they're left with their beak. And most people who have ever encountered a bird, it's a bird like that, something like a chicken. And because of that, there's this abnormal fear of getting bit or pecked by a bird of prey. And that phrase always cracks me up, is that eagle going to peck you? And I always used to hear that a lot during educational programs. You're holding a bird, and you always have somebody come up, oh, aren't you worried that eagle's going to peck your eyes out? And I used to have one eagle that had recovered from West Nile virus, so she was very gentle, very kind, and more cuddly, unlike most birds of prey. And I'd always be like, oh, I don't know, you might be right. And I'd gently hold her head and close one eye and gently move her so that her beak was touching my eye. And I'm like, oh, my eye's still intact, because it's curved, obviously. It's like, I'm like, but, she could bite my nose off or rip my face off, but she can't peck my eyes out. And they're like, oh, I guess that's right, because the beak is curved. And, I did it respectfully, just was joking around with them, But that's the thing, is they can't peck, they can't stab, right? Like other birds, like a great blue heron or something that can stab you. So these birds of prey, these raptors, their beak is primarily the tool for eating, not for making the kill. Now, there's all kinds of other predatory birds, think about like a pelican or a cormorant or a great blue heron. Any of these birds, the kookaburra, another good example. They are using their beak as a way to kill. But raptors, falcons, hawks, owls, eagles, they're using their feet to exert crushing grip with their talons to kill their prey. So this is their primary weapon of self-defense, and it is their primary tool for killing. Once they have their prey, most raptors will take their two inner talons and stab and stand directly above and bite and pull their food. And if they hit a bone, usually they'll go and they'll snap. So the interesting thing about that is that even though most raptors do have fairly strong bite force in their beak, it's nothing compared to a comparatively sized parrot, like say a macaw. Macaws just have straight up crunch force to crack open a nut or a seed. Where raptors, even though they can bite hard, it's the bite and pull or the bite and snap motion. So it's as much having a strong neck as it is having a strong bite. That being said, of course, you want to be careful with around both the beak and the feet. Now, we're fortunate in falconry that we have over 5,000 years of history behind us. And during this time, falconers all over the world have pioneered, fine-tuned, and nearly perfected our equipment and our training techniques. So we are primarily concerned when it comes to physical safety of a bird inflicting damage on us with the feet. And I always tell my apprentices when they're getting a new bird, especially if they're trapping a bird from the wild, I always say, they're like, what if it bites me? I'm like, who cares? They're like, oh, they're not going to bite? I'm like, oh yeah, your bird might bite you, but forget about it. That needs to be secondary. All of your focus needs to be on making sure that the feet are accounted for and not grabbing you. Because an injury from a bite from a raptor pales in comparison with the damage they can do with their feet. And even one foot, typically that's 4 talons, impaling at different directions and trying to get them out. That's not easy. Once a bird is trained, you're holding them, you have jesses on their legs, and you're wearing a glove. So that combination keeps the most dangerous part of the bird safe, accounted for, and away from you. That sounds all fine and good. And at that point, most raptors don't bite, but some do. Every bird is an individual. And some birds do have a personality in which they like to bite. They like to reach out and grab like that. So I want to share with you a technique I use. It's nothing special, but I have to preface this with a couple things. First of all, I don't use this technique on falcons or owls, and I'll explain why in a minute. But it works great. Oh, let me rephrase that. Falcons, owls, and sea eagles. So your sea eagles are like bald eagles or Steller's sea eagles, African fish eagles, things like that. It doesn't seem to work. I still try this technique on the sea eagles, but it doesn't. It helps a little, but not much. And I'll explain why on those three in a minute. Second thing is, the types of training that I prefer to do are principle-based, meaning I don't like a Band-Aid approach. If there's some sort of behavior being exemplified and exhibited by a raptor that's negative or dangerous to you, them, or both, I want to say, what's causing that? Where is that stemming from? What is the psychology behind them? What's going on to trigger that in them? And fix that rather than the Band-Aid approach. And so I say that because what I'm going to share is very basic, very simple, and it is a Band-Aid approach, which I don't normally like. But usually if you have a raptor that's a biter, other than a falcon, an owl, or a sea eagle, it's usually just their personality. And so, Band-Aid approach it is. So my basic thing is, if you're training your bird, you got the feet secured, you got a glove, you got jesses, the training's going well, and they're still biting, is you have to preemptively show them that their beak is worthless as an exhibition of aggression. If they're doing it, but when they're in the process of doing it, you have to stop it. Now remember, if you haven't seen my video on disciplining birds of prey, you can't. You cannot discipline a bird of prey. But this is a good technique. So your bird, I'm showing Maddie, my Harris hawk, on this video, and she's ancient and gentle, and so she's not a biter, but she'll at least let me show you this example, is on true eagles, your Aquila eagles, like golden eagles, hawk eagles, Budios, like red-tailed hawks and ferruginous hawks, accipiters, like goshawks, and the Harris hawk family, the parabudios. Any of them, anytime you have them and you're holding them, reach up and gently pinch their beak and pull away as you do. So it's one fluid motion of gently pinching and pulling away. And if they go up to bite, before they reach to where they're going to bite, you do that from above and pull back, and they're like, and it just kind of resets their brain in a strange way. Do that all the time, and they very quickly get used to it. Even once that behavior is gone, I keep doing this. So what you're really doing is you are causing the bird to, you are conditioning them. You are conditioning them mentally to realize, this is doing absolutely no good. It's kind of like if every time you went charging towards something, a brick wall appeared, eventually you'd stop running towards whatever that is. It's kind of a similar mentality. They just kind of drop the behavior from their repertoire of ways to show aggression. And you're not fixing the psychology, you're just rendering that technique worthless. And they can still grip all you want. You've got a glove on, so it doesn't matter. But if you just do that very simple technique, then and again, remember, when they're fully trained and they're not showing that biting aggression anymore, keep doing it. Anytime you're holding them, maybe take off the hood, maybe do that a couple of times, and it keeps that in their mind that, oh yeah, it's worthless to use my beak, so why even try? So it's not discipline, it's just conditioning. Now, why don't we do it on falcons or sea eagles or owls? So with falcons, their beak is much shorter and it's much rounder. And so if you pinch, and if you try to pinch and slide off, then what you're doing is you're putting your mouth right in line for them to bite. The shape's all wrong. And even so, the way you're normally flying a big falcon, most people here in America, in the United States, when we're flying a big falcon, we're doing waiting on flight. So you got a bird at home, you put on their hood, put them in your truck, drive out to the field, take the hood off, hold them up, they take off, they're circling around, 1,000 feet above you, you flush up a pheasant, they knock it down, carry it to the ground, you let them eat up, put the hood on, take them home, take the hood off, put them back in the mew. Who cares if they were being nippy during any of that time? The time they're actually on your fist is only to and from the truck and a few moments before they take off. So it really doesn't matter if they're being really nippy. Now, owls. Owls have comparatively short beaks, but the beak is very wide. They have enormous mouths underneath all the feathers, but they have these whiskers made out of feathers, but we call them whiskers, that cover all but the tip of the beak in most owls. And so to reach and grab and slide on the beak is incredibly difficult to do because it's blocked by feathers. And if you're touching those feathers, it makes them freak out. You don't want to do that. The more an owl relies on hearing, the poofier those face feathers and whiskers are. The more they rely on eyesight, the more exposed their beak is. So some owls, like maybe the powerful owl of Australia, or perhaps burrowing owls, some of those types of owls, you might be able to attempt this technique, but I've just never bothered. Many owls love to nip. And sea eagles, members of that sea eagle family, I don't know why, but they're just wired more like a regular non-raptorial bird to use that beak as a weapon. Even though they have tremendous grip in their feet, it's something you just have to deal with. When I've worked with bald eagles, I have still done this technique, and it did improve their behavior so they weren't as much of biters, but it didn't make it totally go away. So still worth trying if you're working with a member of the fish eagle family, but don't expect it to have the same wonderful results as it does on, say, like a golden eagle or a wedge-tailed eagle. They're just wired differently, two different families. So simple technique. I hope it helps you if you're having a problem bird. Some birds, even that won't fix, and you just have to deal with it. Some birds, they just have a very aggressive personality, and they like to nip a lot. I've got a gyrfalcon that way right now that wants to shred everything to pieces with her beak and just shred everything, and I don't have an easy fix. So we understand that they're still individuals, and that may be the case. But either way, I hope this video proves useful if you could use the help. Please let me know down in the comments other videos you would like me to make. And if you haven't already, please hit subscribe. It really does help me build this channel up. And as always, happy hawking.